let's dive into the oil sector. Has the country so far gotten an investor who is willing to invest in the refinery?
There has been a great momentum in the oil and gas industry. 2023 has been a very busy year. Following the final investment decision that was made during 2022, we saw an increase in activity in the sector. And during 2023, you saw the rigs that we launched, both for Tilenga but also Kingfisher, and we commenced the drilling. And as a result of that, the findings are already good. It shows that the wells are performing very well, and we should really march towards 2025 first oil. And as we do that, we've also seen great development on the East African crude oil pipeline. Despite all the negative activism by the climate activists who we continue to engage. We saw during this month of December, we saw the first batch of pipelines. We call them line pipes until they are really joined to make pipelines. We saw the first batch arrive in Tanzania. We've also seen the laying of pipelines that will bring crude oil from the central processing facility to Kabale Hub in Hoima or Chikube. So there's been a hive of activity in the sector. So the East Africa crude oil pipeline is on track. We continue to conclude the land acquisition on our side. Most of the land has been acquired, and also we should see construction work start on the Ugandan side during 2024. The upstream is also progressing well, setting up the central processing facilities, the industrial area, and tying the pieces to ensure the project is integrated and is moving in tandem. From this project, we will be earning between 36 to 41 billion US dollars, depending on the crude oil price at the time.
Per year?
That is for the entire project. So you can say over a period of 20 years. And depending on the crude oil price, and as we discover more resources, this could go up. Previously, we did have an investor that we worked with, the Albertine Graben Energy Consortium. And together with them, we did the front-end engineering design. We know the technical design for the project, but also we did the environmental social impact assessment, which was pending approval by NEMA. And due to some financing constraints, that particular agreement was not extended post-June 2023. And for the last few months, we've been having engagements on how we reorganize the project to ensure takeoff. So in the new year, we will be making some announcements on some investors that we are onboarding, and then we should move towards 2027 when the refinery should also be in place post first oil, because first oil will largely be driven by the crude oil pipeline, and then the refinery should follow suit. That's why the government has to ensure, and we are committed to ensuring, the refinery is developed.
How much is that investment?
Today,
or how much is the investor supposed to be putting in?
Yes, so today from our front-end engineering design, just the capex for the project, the capital expenditure, we are looking at about 4 billion US dollars.
4 billion US dollars.
Yes.
And when should Ugandans expect to have a drop or a liter of fuel, maybe let's say petrol or diesel, from the country's resource?
So in terms of processing our crude oil and having product, really latest by 2027, we should see some product on the market.
Okay.
But when it comes to the downstream petroleum trading, and this you must have followed, we are looking at seeing the Uganda National Oil Company playing a more prominent role in the logistical supply of petroleum products. So we are working, and in the new year, we just encountered some challenges on the Kenyan side with the legal suit which the Attorney General is handling with his team. But the plan was for UNOC to start importing petroleum products into the country in the new year. And as we handle that court case, we shall see how and when that will take place. So we are looking at all the options. We are evaluating our options as we study the court case and how it will be determined.
And then recently we saw a Nigerian investor, Oranto, winning an extension of the exploration of oil for 2 years. It has been, the contract was extended for 2 years. Can you elaborate more on that contract? What's the take home for government, especially, and how much is the cost?
So Oranto has had a production sharing agreement with the government of Uganda for the last about 4 years. And Oranto is exploring close to Kingfisher in Chikube. They are exploring what we call the Ingasa shallow and Ingasa deep, meaning that part of their work goes offshore into the Calvert. Their exploration area covers about 420 square kilometers within the Ingasa deep and Ingasa shallow area. So in terms of their production sharing agreement and therefore their exploration license, they are required to have completed a certain work program within a certain period. But due to the impact of COVID-19, they were unable to fulfill their commitments in their production sharing agreements and license. So what we witnessed just before Christmas was an extension of their production sharing agreement and therefore their license to allow them complete their work program. So we've given them an additional 2-year period during which they should complete their work program. And what is the significance of what Oranto is doing? Remember, Oranto came through our first competitive exploration process, competitive licensing, where we onboarded Oranto and AMA. Now, Oranto and AMA are doing exploration work for purposes of additional resources. We want to continue replacing our reserves. During 2024, we will run a licensing round again to be able to bring on board more investors in exploration. Remember, of the 40% that is explored today of the Albertine Graben, only 10% is licensed. And then the ministry has done more work in terms of surveying in Kadam Woroto area. And we've discovered seepages. Seepages are a sign that there could be potential for crude oil. So we will be licensing some of these additional areas to study further and later on do some appraisal to determine the exact extent of the resources.
So in other words, there is oil in Karamoja.
We can say that the initial findings from our surveys do indicate the potential for oil, because we've seen the seepages, meaning in technical terms we say it's a working petroleum system. So we can only firmly say there is oil after exploration has been done and appraisal to determine the commerciality